Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week. We're back. It's Sunday. This is fantastic. I can't wait. I did change up the little intro thing. I made it a bit longer. Now, keep in mind, the actual show starts at 4 o'clock. So I actually start that 1 minute before the show starts. That way, there anybody who has to watch commercials. I figured because I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, does that 30-second thing help? They said, well, no, because I usually get about about 40, 50 seconds worth of commercials. So I made that a little bit longer just so people don't have to miss anything at all. Anyway, beautiful Sunday day here in Ottawa. Fantastic day. It was pouring this morning, but now I can see blue sky when I look out the window. So that's pretty darn cool if you ask me. Whew, we got lots of news. We're going to cover all of that this afternoon. This is a great day. We're going to have a pretty darn good day here. And we'll keep going. Like I said, these ones here, we tend to go about 2 hours, provided you guys got the questions. I got the news. I looked up a bit of information too. I was looking for some sort of funny financial stories as well. I'm going to bring in a few of those as well as we go through the show. So that'll be fantastic. All right. Before we get to that, I want to talk a tiny bit about Blossom. So those of you who do not know, Blossom is the social media app for investors. So it's where all of your like-minded folk are over there just talking away about stocks, asking about advice, talking about their portfolios. You name it, it's there. It's fantastic. I'm over there. I'm one of the ambassadors over there. So if you haven't yet checked out Blossom, right below here, there's a link. So right down in the extra info, click on that, come on over, sign up, follow me. I'll follow you back because I want to see what you guys are all talking about and throw in my 2 cents as well. So that's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Here's some more interesting Blossom news. Brandon is starting to put the feelers out. Brandon Beavis, he's putting the feelers out for possible summer tour again. Last year I think they did Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal. And he's asking about which cities the Blossom folk want to see this year. So there's been a lot of input. There's been a lot of Ottawas coming up. And as you guys know, I'm in Ottawa. So that could be a lot of fun. So anyway, nothing's official yet, but I'll keep you guys abreast. I'll let you guys know as it happens. So, anyway, let's get to the chat. Holy banana bread. You guys are flying right ahead. I'm going to quickly skip to the super sticker. Why videos in there with a $2 super sticker. Holy banana bread. Thank you so much. It's always appreciative. Now, these, of course, any supers that come into the channel, they just get dumped right into the 0 to 100K challenge. So that is absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. Why videos? So as a matter of fact, we did a bonus this week. We did a bonus market close on Friday, and Why Videos was part of the reason with their generosity that helped bring about that one. So let's give you guys another opportunity. Let's give you another opportunity to win an additional market close. So we'll put one up let's put one up for tomorrow. So we'll put one up for tomorrow. What we need to see is 3 supers throughout this chat. And we've already got one. So we need 2 more. So 2 more supers before we finish today. And we get that bonus one tomorrow. Okay, let's take a look and see what's going on in chat. Holy banana bread. All right, Jonathan starts with am I late? Apparently you are. Apparently you are. Stan says, a good day all. Hello, Stan. And Why Video says, I hope you will cover, Stella Jones and Dosabo results. So Stella Jones, I love Stella Jones. They are a fantastic company. I did have them at one point in the 0 to 100K challenge. I did sell basically as part of the last rebalance. But I'll tell you, part of me is like, I didn't want to sell them because I was expecting some good things from them, being up 9.67%. Now, Dosabo, that's a different story. So what's going on with Dosabo is, yes, they did exceed their expectations on this earnings call, but it's all about what they're forecasting to be doing in the next quarter, and they're not expecting. They're actually forecasting that they're going to miss some of their benchmarks coming up. That's the reason that people sort of reacted against that. And yeah, it was like about 22. I thought it was around 20, but negative 22% drop because people weren't happy with their forward forecast. So that's what that's all about. So sometimes you will see that. You'll be like, oh my God, they did fantastic. It was a great earnings report because they beat expectations, but then they plummet. It's usually because there's something else in there that, that shakes the investor confidence. And in this case here, it was their forward forecasting that people were not happy with. So let's hope they can do better. Let's just hope they can do better. Biz Markey says, happy Sunday, everyone. And we have a nailer saying, happy Sunday, folks. Happy to catch the live for a change. Always good to see you. Always good to see it's always great. Like anytime somebody comes in who isn't in here all the time, it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Good vibes. Says, hi all. And we got Jackie in here with a hi, everyone. And Vic is in the house. Hello, Vic. Good to see you. So you bought Shopify $100 at $84, but dipped Friday to 80. We'll hold and hope to swing out unless she tanks. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. You put a lot of money into Shopify, Vic. So let's hope that that pays off for you. Mary's in the house with a hello. And every time I see Mary, it reminds me that like button down below. Hit the like button. Let's turn it blue. Let's get this pumped out to the world. We'll get everybody in the world in here. Let's just do it. We'll hit the like button, folks. Let's see. And yeah, Y Videos says, I think long-term with Shopify. I agree 100%. Jackie says, Pinterest paired up with Amazon and Google. The stocks have taken off. Thoughts? Thank God Pinterest has done something because on their own, the business model, I like Pinterest. I think Pinterest is fantastic. I love the idea of it. But it needed something to stand out. It needed something to push them forward. On their own, I thought they were going to tank, but this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing for Pinterest. We'll have to see how this all turns out for them, but I think this is definitely a move in the right direction. Probably the only move they could have made that will lead to a better outcome for Pinterest. So yeah, I love Pinterest. Vic says, made $2K on Kinaxis swing with realized profit. That's not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. And we got Amanda in the house with a hola. Happy Mother's Day to all, cat and dog mums included. There we go. It is. Yes, it is. It's Mother's Day today. So be sure, any of you who have forgotten, just to send a message, a quick hi to your mom. I'm your wake-up call. I'm your reminder. So you're welcome. Vic says, tell Brandon to consider Northern Alberta, Edmonton, maybe. Yes, I've seen Edmonton actually mentioned in, it's a thread on Blossom. So if you go over to Blossom and just look up Brandon Beavis and find the thread, get in there and throw out your, let them know what you want, basically. Vic says, let's see, Dosabo, Die, and Durham Discardes. Hard to keep them all straight. Understood. So these days, the forecast is for a 20% drop. It depends. It really depends. Well, one, it depends on the industry. It depends on the sector. Depends on the investors. But some investors can sometimes act a little bit, I don't want to call it paranoid, but they can get uneasy. I find, I don't know about you guys, but I have found that we keep going through waves where investors, it takes absolutely nothing to spook them. And then we get a red market as a result, or if it's just an individual stock, it tanks a little bit. But the good news is that I find that we recover pretty fast. So let's hope that's the case here. Vic says, so everything is priced to absolute perfection. Would be nice. It would be nice. Ian's in the house. Hello, Ian. BNS earnings call May 28th. Do you think they will raise their dividend? I don't know, but you know what? They probably will sometime this year. I'm trying to remember when they did it last. We'll have to look. We'll have to see. But here's the good news. We do have we have all of the bank earning calls coming out towards the end of the month. That means I will do a video on all of the earning calls. So one video where I sort of just give a summary of the banks, what, how they did with expectations, what to look forward to, that type of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Why Video says, I think of Stella Jones as a company Buffett would enjoy if it was big enough. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. And I'll tell you, the material exposure with Stella Jones, I'm kind of missing that right now in my portfolio. So, yeah, why did I sell them? Why? Abalash says, hi, everyone. TELUS increase in dividend to 38.91. Lost about 1.7% in stock value. I will tell you, you'll see TELUS on the channel sometime this week. I won't tell you anymore. I won't. You guys will probably be able to figure out what I'm talking about. But yeah, you'll see TELUS a little bit later this week. Trevor is in the house. Good to see you, Trevor. Always good to see you. A quick little happy Mother's Day from Abalash. Absolutely. Marion's in the house. Afternoon, everyone. Been a while since I made it to a live. Always good to see you. Always good to see you. And I saw that you made it onto Discord. So congratulations. Yeah, Discord is pretty rocking. So those of you who have not yet checked out Discord, there's a link down below over to our Discord. We do we talk about this, that, everything. It's pretty darn busy. The only thing I will say is that every so often we get some scammers that come in and create fake Mountain Finance accounts. They try to friend you and then try to trick you into telling them about Bitcoin or other things as they're trying to scam you. So if you're over there and you're worried about those scammers, just send me a friend request. I'll then okay it. And that way there, if somebody who's not your friend messages you, it's a fake. It's a fake Candace. And then you can sort of, you can use some colorful metaphors on them if you want. I'm okay with that because I don't like the scammers and I don't like them pretending to be me. So anyway, that's a fantastic place to be. Change to spare. Welcome. Vic says, I think it's bots and computers that must dump stocks so aggressively. Sometimes, yeah. And I actually got something in the crypto corner that sort of relates to that in a little bit, but that's a little ways off. We haven't even got to the first story yet. We're still looking at the bear and the bull here trying to play darts. I don't know. Personally, I would never play darts without clothes on because accidents happen. That's all I'm saying. Why Video says, I think that overreactions after results and projections are bigger with tech stocks than with other categories. Sometimes, yes. And here's the thing: a lot of swing traders and day traders will sometimes play these overreactions because you take it. If you know something has an overreaction, you can just buy it at the bottom and then ride it up over the next couple of days and then sell it. So, sometimes that does happen. Marion says, yes, I sure did. Thanks so much for the help. No problem. I did not realize. Here's that funny thing. I generated a link that's supposed to never expire because I attached them to videos. And apparently it expired. So I had to generate a brand new one again. So if you ever do try to go over to Discord and it shows up as being expired, reach out to me. Any way you can, even if it's a comment, I answer everything. I'll get you a new link. But the one I've generated and put on this video and a couple of previous ones, that one's brand new and it's supposed to never expire. So let's hope. Oh dear. Whoops, we got a few more here. Jordan's in the house. Good afternoon, Jordan. Always good to see you. And Vic Vin is in here. Poet Technologies, Canadian company PTK. Please explain their parabolic move the last 2 weeks. That's a good question. Let me take a look at that very quickly. All right. What? All right. Let's see here. All right. sometimes we get some interesting moves. So Poet Technology, let's see here. Okay. Yeah, I know that with their last earnings report, they had a few different issues in it. Um, let's see. Apparently, they had a decrease in their net income for the quarter that ended on December 31st. Let's see, which was let's see. Also, they've had some restructuring costs, negative impacted profitability. Yeah, other than that, that's the only thing I've found, but I'd have to do some bigger I'd have to do, bigger. I'd have to do a little bit more thorough, diving in on that one, VicFin. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on other than I just got a little bit back, but, I would wanna really dig in on that to see what's going on. Amvas says, learning from your 100K challenge, what is your criteria to buy, hold, or sell your stocks? What indicator and time frame do you use? Just starting. Should I invest lump amount before rate cuts? Thanks. Okay. So with the 0 to 100K challenge, the goal is total return long term. So for the most part, if a stock I purchase for that challenge is doing okay, it's it's going to stick around. So I will rebalance basically once a quarter. So even if I have a stinker in my portfolio, it's going to survive until the rebalance and at the very least. So I'm not really looking at I'm not at this point. At this point, I'm sort of still building up the base portfolio. So I'm not really looking to do a lot of stuff in it for the simple reason that one, because we're in a TFSA, we're limited to the amount of swing trading we can do. I'm going to do some swing trading down the line once we've built up a bit more money in there. But we'll do it the way you can get away with doing it in a TFSA. So for example, if you want to swing, you just can't buy back in 30 days in a TFSA. So we may look at that a little bit. Now, the next one, I'm going to show you guys a buying strategy in the next one that I'm utilizing right now. And that basically is I'm using a cash ETF. So we're going to look at cash ETFs in the next episode and how you can basically put money into it and then use it when you've got some opportunities to average down. So that's what we're going to look at in the next one. And I've already started to do actually on one of the, I don't know if it was I think it was a market close. I actually did the other day. I did a live buy on the market close and I showed you, the people on that live stream exactly kind of how we're going to do it. But pretty excited for that one. And it's coming up pretty soon. So we'll look at the schedule a little bit later. So that should be fun. Andy says, hello, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well. All right, let's have a sip of, we'll have a little bit of our Starbucks here, and then we will hit the first news story. I always love the coffee. All right, let's let's bring it up. So we had a big jobs report, and that dropped on Friday. So basically 2 days ago, we've added 90,000 jobs to the economy in April. 90,000. This is Canada. That's a lot of jobs. Now, we were expecting, so this is the anticipation. We had expected to add about 10,000 new full-time jobs based on this time of year. Well, we added 40.1 thousand new jobs. So 40.1K. We were also expecting to add an additional 5,000 part-time jobs. Yeah, no, we got a staggering 50.3 thousand new part-time jobs. So that's where that 90,000 comes in. We absolutely crushed what we were expecting, but that's maybe not a good thing. Especially when you start thinking about the Bank of Canada. So this here was the largest monthly gain in over a year. So, the last time I think we gained this amount of jobs was back in January of 2023. So it's been a little while. Now this jobs increase, here's kind of the downside. The Bank of Canada is going to look at it and say, yeah, the economy's not rolling over, so we don't have to cut rates. at least not right away. So this is not good for that June rate cut. So I mentioned to you guys that I'm about 50-50 on the fence. Not anymore. I'm abandoning June. I'm now going to stand on July. It just, I mean, we still have a CPI to come out, and maybe it can salvage it, but it's really starting to look like July opposed to June. So that's going to be interesting. Now, in addition to this, unemployment, it fell. It was at 6.2%. It did actually fall down to 6.1%. We were expecting it to be the same. So everybody thought it was going to end at 6.2, but it didn't. It fell to 6.1. Holy banana bread. That also is not happy news for the Bank of Canada. They want to see unemployment getting a little higher opposed to getting a little lower before they cut rates. So overall, Friday, not a good day for anybody in the June camp. I think you pretty much need to move over to July at this point. I don't think, I think it would take a miracle. I think it will take a miracle at this point. Now, wage growth, that slowed last month to an annual pace of 4.7%. So that's down from 5.1%. Now, that's the only thing that the Bank of Canada will be happy about, because as you guys know, we've talked about this a few times on the show, they're wanting to see that number go down a little bit further because they're always worried about that, about wage price spiraling and productivity, of course, which has been huge in the news lately. So yeah, too many jobs. The jobs are just popping up. But here's the thing. You also have to keep in mind, too, that those numbers can be a little bit wonky because we had so much immigration. So that's a whole bunch of extra bodies in here. And that's all going into this calculation, too. So sometimes it's always not as clear as can be. But for now, the Bank of Canada, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy with this at all, unfortunately. All right. Abalash says, U.S. banks versus Canadian bank stocks. Do you think U.S. banks have more chance for an upswing compared to the big six? No, and I'll tell you why. The way mortgages work in the States is that they basically, they're much longer. So during the pandemic, when the rates were really low, people who bought mortgages in the States, well, they weren't locking them in for 2-3 years. They were locking them in for 20, 30 years. So you don't have that wave coming at them of the renewals. And that's kind of part of what's happening right now in Canada. So with the Canadian banks, it's not that the banks are doing bad. Say for perhaps TD, and those of you who watched that video, you kind of got an idea what's going on with TD. But what's happening is so much money is being put aside for the loan loss provisioning because they're expecting a lot of pain coming as these, as these mortgages start coming up for renewal. And some of them already have, and people who are coming up, they're like, all of a sudden, they're having lower rates that they've been paying for, years. Well, a few years. All of a sudden, they're getting hit with these increases to their mortgage. That's, in some cases, it's unsustainable for them. And that's causing issues. So we're looking at, there's going to be loan losses. And it's not even just the mortgages, credit cards, all of these things are all starting to add up. So once the rate cuts hit here, that's going to take a lot of that pressure off the banks. That's going to eventually start freeing up a little bit more cash in the banks. So in the US, when that rate cuts start hitting, it's not really saving people from mortgages because those people have already locked in their long-term mortgages. It's helping with credit cards, but it's not going to have as big of an issue. So yeah, so I think Canada will do better than what the US will do based alone on that. So, and plus, right now there's so much room on the banking system. There's so much growth just to get back to where they were. So, I'm pretty bullish overall on the banks. Okay, Y Video says, my investing strategy is making my own S&P 500 ETF by picking stocks in each categories and overweight and underweight according to macros, actual sector values and sector projections, plus 7.5% PM crypto. Okay, fair enough. Um, in a sense, I mean, let's just face it. If you think about it, everybody's portfolio in one way or another is like your own personal ETF. And any of the, of course, the management fees are just going back into it, or or you're pulling them out and put them in your pocket. So those management fees would be like your dividends in a way. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. But at the same time, somebody could argue that if you want to chart the S&P 500, why are you doing all the work? Why don't you just get a good ETF that does it? Other than the fact that you don't pay management fees if you're doing it yourself. Um, but there can be more risk if you're doing it yourself, because a lot of times with these ETFs, they have a lot more stocks than what you have. So they have a lot more protection, downside protection, than what you would have as an individual. But at the same time, I like the individual stocks. And I think if you're spending the time you're doing, well, the fact that you're here is great because you're learning. Um, Places like Blossom is another great place to be. Just places where you can keep abreast of what's going on. I think, no, I think that's fine. I think that's actually kind of cool. Um, Vic says thoughts on TD. Well, Vic, I just did a video on TD. My thoughts are in that video, but one thing I guess I didn't say in that video is overall, when all is said and done, TD is probably going to be looking at about $2 billion in fines total. That's not really that big compared to their moat. So more or less, if you look at what's happening with that price and with the collapse that we've seen in their share price, that's more or less just investors getting a little bit worried. It's like, okay, oh, TD money laundering. Oh my God, I got to try to sell stuff. And also another thing too, just to be clear on this, is that TD didn't launder money. What TD is guilty of is kind of like sleeping on the job. So they weren't paying enough attention to what was going on with their customers. And so the money laundering, that snuck through the cracks, and that should never have happened. So you can be sure going forward that TD is going to be paying a lot more attention. They're going to basically fix any little holes in their in their matrix, so this doesn't happen again. Because this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing, and But here's the beautiful thing. Right now, if you're an investor in TD, they're going to recover. This is not like it's not like a scandal that's going to be like the end of TD type scandal. No, they will absolutely recover. Once they're no longer in the news cycle, you'll see that price go back up, and people will forget about this as they forget about everything. So it's kind of like the way the market works. Y says, I try to beat the market like a game. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Well, it's there are games, like a lot of games have economies in them. Great example would be World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has a huge economy in it, and there's a lot of people that game that economy. There's a lot of people who play the game just to make gold. They're not really caring about the other stuff on the game. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So with the market, it's like a real life version of a game in some ways, other than the fact that you can't just hit the reset button. And when you lose money, it's real money that you're losing. So that's kind of the thing. But yeah, it's benchmarks is a really good way to approach investing. So, and I've mentioned this before. So when, for example, let's say you're comparing yourself to the S&P 500, well, that becomes your benchmark. So as long as you're beaten, like let's say your goal is, I want to beat the S&P 500 by 5%. Fantastic. So if the S&P 500 is down, it's okay for you to be down too. As long as you're 5% above them still, then you're still hitting your goals, because the S&P 500 is going to come back up. So that's not too shabby at all. All right. Andy says, any thoughts about BAM? I love BAM. I like that company a lot, but don't have so much experience with the spinoffs. Okay, so Brookfield Asset Management. To me, I guess I would call it, I don't want to say a god tier. For the channel members once, I did this breakdown where I looked at all of the different Canadian stocks, and I did a tier, the tier rankings where you got like S tier and A, B, and C and all of that. And I ranked BAM, if I remember correctly, I put them right on the border between S tier and A tier. So they're a fantastic stock. I have a lot of confidence in them. For me, if they go down, I'm like, this is my opportunity to get more. So BAM, I'm hugely bullish on them. Now there are a lot of different Brookfield companies, and interestingly enough, you will see one of those companies later this week. Giving you guys way too many hints, so we'll leave that be. But that's kind of the thing. So Brookfield Asset Management, they're the premium one. I think they're probably the best of all of the Brookfields. There's also BN, which is Brookfield Corporation. Now, when Brookfield Corporation, so there used to be, and this is where it gets confusing. So there used to be the old Brookfield Asset Management, and then what they did is they split themselves in half. They took the premium side of themselves and they called them the new Brookfield Asset Management, and then the rest went into Brookfield Corporation, which is technically it's the head Brookfield unit. But when they did this, Brookfield Corporation, they took everything from BAM. So they even took their debts and everything. So BAM started out with nothing, and they still have no debt. They're running strong, and it's definitely a company I'm very, very bullish on. Now, there's other things like Brookfield Infrastructure, Brookfield Renewables. None of them are even close to BAM, but there's a lot of potential with a lot of them as well. Because a lot of them too, you got to remember, when you're in an asset management situation, when you're adding new companies, that's how you build up some debt. That's how you put a lot of overhead. So that can pull down your performance. But once you've got a really good portfolio that you're managing, sort of like Brookfield Asset Management does, that's when you start doing a lot better. So I think they're all going to be strong companies. But right now, out of all of them, BAM is the one I am super bullish on. All right, and there's I know exactly what that's all about. And Y says, and my hedge is precious metals and crypto, like Ray Dalio all-weather portfolio. Yeah, I mean, an interesting thing about crypto. I'll tell you guys this one little thing that's kind of cool about crypto. So there was, and I'm pulling this right out of the crypto corner. I have 3 things in the crypto corner, so I can pull this one out. So there's this one specific Bitcoin address. I don't have the address. I'm not going to tell you guys the address. But 10 years ago, they actually purchased 687 Bitcoin for, well, $900 a coin. So that cost them 618,300 in total. That's fantastic. That's a lot of money. But they've held on to it and they're still holding it. Those 687 Bitcoin, they're now worth about $17.4 million. So Bitcoin is not, it's one of these things. Like, it really depends on what you think. Like, there are a lot of people out there that are like, okay, Bitcoin is a scam. Bitcoin is only worth something because people think it's worth something. But if everyone one day decided, Bitcoin's crap, it's not worth anything, it would then plunge to zero. Well, that's not going to happen. We're at a point now that there's too much institutional involvement with these ETFs, for example. Bitcoin's not going anywhere, and it is a good way. You have to be wise and smart about Bitcoin. If you're getting into Bitcoin, you have to sort of sit back and say, okay, I'm going to invest this amount into Bitcoin, but I'm not going to panic when Bitcoin drops $1,000 the next day or $5,000 the next day, because that's just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is volatile like that. You invest, and here's the thing: if you invested, and this is why DCAing, dollar cost averaging, is the best way to go. Like, maybe a way for you to get into Bitcoin that's a little bit more sane is, let's say you want to spend $250 a month on Bitcoin. So just pick a date and say, I'm going to buy $250. And you can even like, if you go into ShakePay, I think Wealthsimple will do this as well. You can set up a reoccurring purchase. So as long as you just keep your ShakePay funded, you could have ShakePay buying, let's say, at noon on the, Well, why do it at noon? Maybe you want to do it at 8 o'clock at night. Who cares? Because Bitcoin's open 24 hours. But let's just say we'll go back to the noon. So you could have it set up. So the first day of every month at noon, you buy $250 worth of Bitcoin. So some months, Bitcoin's going to be in the crapper and you're going to get a great deal. Some months it's going to be high. You're not going to get as great a deal, but it should, in the long term, put you going right up through the average. And that's just a fantastic way to, to do it. So, just something to think about. 9 says, all weather portfolio has a lot of long bonds. Oh, yes. Some people are, there's also some really interesting, a few interesting covered calls with bonds I've noticed starting to pop up as well. Ian says, a lot of Bitcoin that's being held for the long run is owned by people who lost their password. Yes, there are Bitcoin that are never going to ever see the light of day. And everybody loves that one example of the guy who accidentally threw away his computer, forgetting he had a bunch of Bitcoin on it. And he's been trying to get permission from the landfill to try to dig it up and find it, even offering to give them part of the money. But I've never heard of that getting any kind of a resolution. So there are people, and it's not even that. That's just an example of one guy who lost a bunch of money. But you take a lot of people who maybe just bought $20, $30 worth of Bitcoin, threw it on a hardware wallet, forgot their password, and they're like, it's just $30. Who cares? They throw it away and they get a new one. And they start fresh. Well, all of that little chunks of money here, little chunks of money there, that's just more Bitcoin. That's no longer, it's pretty much dead. And considering there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, that all that does is makes Bitcoin a little bit more valuable. So, makes it a scarce asset. Bismarcky says, I buy Bitcoin and Ethereum every week. If this down big, I'll buy a little more. Okay. And that's not a bad way to go too. So that's kind of more of a hybrid. So basically what you're doing in this situation is you're saying, okay, well, I got my dollar cost average. So let's say you've got 250 that you want to spend every week. But maybe you keep another 250 on the side in case Bitcoin goes really far down. So then, you could do something like that as well. There's definitely lots of things that you can do. You sound well. Yes, well, the flu is gone. The flu is finally gone. I'm happy about that. Never liked the flu. And it's like I said, it's funny. It was the cleaning lady that brought it in, gave it to Jill, then Jill gave it to me. But it's gone. It is now gone. Why Videos says, there was a Big Bang Theory episode about it, but it was the comic book store guy that found and erased the USB key and sold it to make money. Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah. Good old comic book store guy. It's always the comic book store guy that messes things up for us. That's just life. The stereotypical. Vic says it's hard to DCA when markets go high. Well, that's the thing though. You're supposed to DCA when market, regardless of what the market is doing. So if you're doing true DCA, you've just set it up and you're like, okay, well, yeah, you know what? Market's high now, but the market will be low later. It's kind of that thing, because what happens is, once again, you buy high, you buy in the middle, you buy low, but overall you should be buying that average fair value for the asset. And Vic says, I can't do it. That's fair enough. There are some people that can't. There's some people that do want to time the market, and some people can have really good, like, for example, you may be DCAing, but if you have a day where everything absolutely crashes, well, take your DCA amount for that week and buy that day for sure. That just makes a bit more sense, because, we do have them opportunities where the market absolutely plummets. Imagine March 2020, when they announced the pandemic, the entire market crashed. Bitcoin crashed. If you had money available to trade that day, holy banana bread, you would have, you'd be in the green probably for the rest of your life. I think, was it 9? Did Bitcoin drop down to 9? I think it was like 9,000 or something crazy small that Bitcoin jumped down to. So I'm not 100% sure if it was 9,000. That's just what's popped into my head. I'd have to actually look. And Vic says, can I say double dollar signs? Yeah, You can definitely say double dollar signs as much as you want to. All right, let's pull up that next story. So there is a saying in finance, and it's called sell in May and go away. So I think most of you have probably heard of this one before, but basically, traditionally, the market, it isn't really that great over the summer. And well, that's where the saying comes from. It's like, hey, sell your stuff in May, sit it, move it to cash. And then when you get back to September, buy again, buy everything back when it's all at its low, because it's now going to go up and you'll make a bunch of money. So that's kind of cool. However, this is what's neat. If you actually look at our summers over the last 10 years, it hasn't exactly been the case. There have been more than one good summer rally. And here's the thing. A lot of stock analysts are saying 2024 may very well be setting itself up to be another good summer rally. So this may not be a sell in May and go away event this year. What's going on? Why is that? Well, there's this big thing. There's a presidential election coming up this year. And the years where there's a U.S. presidential election tends to see larger summer rallies. So that's pretty interesting. So according to the Bank of America, the U.S. benchmark S&P 500 has been up 75% of the time, producing an average return of 7.3% in years when Americans elect a new president, or the same president, but a president. And this is going all the way back to 1928. So that's really, really interesting. Now, just to put that into context, in years when there's not a presidential election, the average is 65% up with a 3.2% return. So this is a year where we're going to see a lot more action in the market, according to statistics, according to the past. Now, always keep in mind, the past is not an indication of the future, but it can sometimes really point you in the right direction. Now, in Canada, the Canadian dollar, it normally will strengthen against the US dollar from March to September. So this year, however, the Bank of Canada, where they're talking about lowering our interest rates ahead of the US rates, that divergence is putting a small amount of downward pressure on the loonie. But for the most part, and especially if we don't cut in June, our Canadian dollar should be doing fairly okay through the summer. So that's going to be really, really interesting. The good old presidential election. All right, let's get back to chat. Vic says, by sheer luck, March 2020 was when I got into all of this as a mutual funds before and index ETFs. Nice. Yeah, buy in May and make hay. That's funny. Ian says, same here. I bought my first stock March 13th, 2020. And yeah, great minds often do think alike. Biden, Trump, these are the two best they have to choose from. Yes. Well, there's also Worm Guy. So who is it? RFK Jr. Is that his name? Or RF something. Anyway, he's been in the news lately because apparently he got a pork tapeworm into his brain and it ate a part of his brain, then died. So he says he's okay now. But he also then came out and he said this wonderful statement. He said that he could eat 5 more of those tapeworms and still be better than Biden or Trump. So I don't know. But I thought that was kind of funny. So we'll have to see. Vic says, well, it was only Trudeau for the last 10 years. I know. I imagine somebody from the States who looks up here and sees that we have the same leader for 10 years is probably like, what? But I think if Trump had his way, though, he'd do away with the 2-term limit if he could get away with it. Abalash says, do you think the CAD will fall to as much as no? Well, I can't say no. I can say in the immediate future. There could be some events that happen somewhere in the distant future that could absolutely tank our dollar that much, but I don't think so. I don't see it anytime soon. I know, worm guy. Oh, yeah, that to me is just funny. It's funny. It's like, wow. We got old man Biden versus what I don't know what we could call Trump. I'm not good at making up names. We'll just call him Jailbird Trump versus Worm Guy. Oh, it's like it's almost like we're making a comedy movie, but instead it's the U.S. presidency. So what can I say? Yeah, RFK. There we go. He scares me because sometimes I undercook my pork chops. oh, oh yeah, yeah. You don't want to get a tapeworm in your brain. That's not good. That's not good. But on the bright side, all of the late night hosts had a field day with RFK and his worm. So that's not too shabby that way. Um, Vic says, when will U.S. debt catch up with them? They have to service it at some point. You would think that they would. I mean, they do service it. Um, Imagine. I mean, heck, I would love, I would love to have, not me personally, but Canada. Well, of course, I would take it personally, but I'd love to have that amount that they're servicing the debt. That's probably bigger than our GDP. I honestly, I don't know exactly what they're paying, but we're talking they got trillions. So yeah, that's not fun. Vic says I'm old enough to remember USCAD parity. Yeah, I know. I remember when it got pretty darn close at one point, really close. It might have even been parity, but yeah, that's one of these things. I mean, we don't want as much as people sometimes say, "Oh my God, I wish they were the same." It's like, no, we don't want it. Ideally, when we're around 75 cents, that's a good place for us. That's a really good place. You don't want to get much higher than 80 cents, just because it hurts our buying power. So 75 cents is not a bad thing. Plus, when the Canadian dollar is down on 75 cents, it also encourages a lot of tourism from the States, because when they are hearing like, what, you mean I get $1.25 for every buck I have while I'm in Canada? Yeah, sign me up. So that's not a bad thing. Vic says, I ordered tires from Tire Track USA for the same in Canadian. There we go. If oil goes up, hope CAD gets closer to parity and we can buy VOO at a fair price instead of the 26% markup. Oh, there you go. There you go. I mean, Canadian oil, we're in a good spot right now that the expansion to the Trans-Canada line is open. That is going to, it's going to allow us to export a lot more oil. And right now there's a high demand for it. So that's not a bad place to be for Canada. Ian says, if I owned the same stock in CAD and USD and the Canadian dollar tanked, what would happen to my stock? So I own ENB and TSX and NYSE. Well, technically nothing happens to your stock, but it comes down to if you sell it, right? When you sell a stock during a time when, let's say, for example, if you sell a USD stock when the Canadian dollar is stronger than it should be, you're going to get, you'll get less money than you should get. So if anything, if you have USD stocks and you're thinking like, I want to sell them, pay attention to the Canadian market. See when the dollar is a little more favorable, because then you'll get more. Can you Norbert's on National Bank direct brokerage? I don't think so. But yeah, I'm going to say I don't think so. I don't know any more beyond that. Now, Canadian in a T-shirt, he's the kind of little bit of the expert on Norbert. So drop into his comments there, Vic, and just say, Candace said, come ask you this. He'll get a kick out of it. Trust me. Ian, all the never makes sense. I've studied and tried to arbitrage to see no profit. Oh, dear. Abalash says, which companies will benefit from the pipeline expansion? Well, obviously the oil. Any companies that are pulling oil out of the ground are going to do fine. And I've heard people say, "Oh my God, but what about like Enbridge? They've got all of these pipes. Isn't that going to hurt them?" Well, no, it's not, because the pipeline, this Trans-Canada pipeline thing, I keep calling it a Trans-Canada, Trans-Mountain, whatever. It's sending oil to the coast to get exported. So, a lot of the stuff moving around on Enbridge, we're moving stuff down to the coast, down to the Gulf, things like that. So it's not really going to, and plus there's such a huge demand that there's room for everybody to make money in this market. So it's not going to really hurt them. Now, a lot of the utility companies, they've been suffering not because of the price of oil. Most of the suffering they've had is with some of the higher rates. Because, look at a company like Enbridge. They've been doing a lot of, they've been a lot of expanding. So they've been a lot of expanding into renewables, getting things set up that way. So all of that creates debt. Higher interest rates then means more to service the debt. So that's where the utility companies have been hurting. With rate hikes, when the rate hikes, I shouldn't say rate hikes come down. When the rates start to come down, that's going to be big for the utility companies. So, Enbridge, I know they had a pretty good week this week. There'll be a lot more of those, especially once we get into the fall. So looking forward to seeing that. Vic says, will Berkshire buy TMX? They have the cash. Interesting. I don't know. I'm not sure what their goal, I know that Warren Buffett says he is looking at a Canadian asset, but he hasn't said what it is. So there's a lot of speculation out there. I don't have any. I know some people said, well, some people said, well, maybe it's BAM, and I'm like, well, no, it's not going to be. It's not going to be something that is available on the New York Stock Exchange. So if you have an American version of it, it's probably not that company, unless it is. Maybe he's not going to go to the TSX. Maybe he is going to buy a Canadian company on the NY. See, he didn't give us enough information. So everything is pure speculation. 9 says, good, stay invested so you catch the huge green days. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's kind of like that whole thing. Investing is it's like holding a bar of soap. The more you touch it, the smaller it gets. So that's not a bad thing. Greg Abel will assess and buy if worth it. And I'm getting almost $1,000 a month on my cash ETF holdings. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, and as I said before, on the next 0 to 100K challenge, we're going to look at the cash ETFs in that challenge. So I do have a video on there if you don't want to wait till the beginning of June. But no, that's not that far away. But yeah, there is a video on the channel right now on cash ETFs. And Vic says, anyone watch Berkshire annual meeting May 4th? Wasn't the same without Munger. I have nothing further to add. Yeah, I know. I miss poor Charlie. And soon enough, and I've noticed even when Warren Buffett's talking, he's talking about who's taken over. He's talking about, he's kind of talking like he's on his final days too. So, it's sad, but it happens to all of us. Why Video says, last time we got parity was during Harper years. That's what I thought. I thought it wasn't that long ago. So 102 to 106. There we go. I think you were right. It was a higher at one point. Candace, do you know if you have viewers from other countries? I do. One of our regular viewers here, Joe, is actually from the U.S. I actually got I got a lot of people from the U.S. who want to branch into Canadian stocks. So I'm kind of like a gateway into Canada for them, which is fantastic. I believe I've got at least one person from the UK. Now, when I look at my analytics, though, I do see I see mostly Canada. Next biggest is the US, and I think the third biggest is like India or something like that. But I have a feeling that was where a lot of the scammers have come in. Hey, come here. The kitten is bugging me. I think she wants to say hi. All right, look. Hey. No, you have to look at the camera, not me. The camera. All right. Geek. She just, now, those, that probably looked really odd, but there's a window over there, and she jumped to the window. We call it the high hide. It's just a platform on the window. So she didn't just jump off into the air somewhere. Just anyway. Berkshire also looking at CP Kansas. And you know what? So CP Kansas City, That was the first stock I thought of when I heard he said that he's looking at a Canadian company, because that's one fine railroad, and with them being the only railroad that have access to Canada, the US, and Mexico, that's not bad. That would not be a bad choice. You know what? We might both be right on that one, Vic. I think maybe that's a contender. Marion says, now, if you were to buy ENB tomorrow, would you still receive the dividend? I don't know. What is their ex-dividend date? Well, I guess I'll have to look that up. It's not like you can talk through the screen. Give me a second here. I'm just gonna go over here. All right. ENB, Enbridge. Go into the key data. I know you guys can't see this right now. All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you absolutely would get the dividend. Because right now, their last ex-dividend date was February 14th, and that was for March 1st. So they haven't yet declared for their next one, which will be like, should be in June, I think. Yeah, so there should be one coming out in June, but why have they not declared it yet? Or at least they're not showing it here. So maybe if somebody has oh, okay, they must have declared it, but I don't know why TMX did not update it. So you're saying it's the 14th. So yes, as long as you buy them by tomorrow. So the way it works with the ex-dividend date, basically the ex-dividend date is 1 day after the date of record. So whoever's name is on it the date of record is, see, now you got me all let's just make this really, really easy. So when you have the ex-dividend date, whoever's name is on that stock when that day opens, that's going to be who gets the dividend. So it basically says whoever's name is on it for the for the day of record, the record date. So normally the record date is a little bit further ahead than the ex-dividend date. So what the brokerages do is they move the ex-dividend date to where there's enough time for it to settle. So as long as you have it, if you buy it tomorrow, you're fine. But if the market opens on the 14th, and even if you at 9:30 go in there and buy immediately, you've still missed it. It doesn't matter. So you have to have it by the end of tomorrow if you want that dividend. So yeah, absolutely. All right. And I missed a couple from Vic. Can you imagine having Berkshire's cash pile? I just put it to GIC and go to Muskokas. I don't know where that is. I have a feeling it's like a backwater country in BC, maybe, where there's like lakes. I don't know. I'm guessing at that. All right, let's just get to your next comment, Vic. Hope Polyev increases the TFSA limit. That'd be nice. That would absolutely be nice. Greg's an oil guy, understands that industry top to bottom. So there we go. And that's Greg Abel. Yeah, I've heard of Greg. I've heard of him. I haven't really watched a lot, but I've heard of him. If Berkshire tries to buy CPKC, maybe Canadian authorities will try to block. Well, I don't think he's trying to buy the company. I think we're talking about investing in their shares. So yeah, they're not going to like outright try to, go into like majority shareholder type situation. So I don't think we have to worry about that. Vic says, heck, they can just buy Canada. Trudeau will sell. Maybe, but actually nothing surprises me. All right. I think he meant Muskoka. All right. Oh, no. Is that where you live? And I'm completely butchering your city. Oh, dear gosh. Oh, I apologize, Marion. Muskoka. There we go. I think I got it right. Muskoka. All right. I think I got it now. And Vic wants to know if you are a billionaire, Marion, because Vic is single and he's looking. So if you're a billionaire, you might make his list. You just might make his list. All right. We got more news stories, folks. But before we go to a news story, I wanted to talk about one of them funny little stories that that actually happened. So let's go back to 2007. So basically, back in 2007, during a trading session on the TSX, they had a little bit of an unexpected interruption. So somebody dressed as a polar bear stormed the trading floor. So apparently, the bear was part of a Greenpeace, good old Greenpeace, protest against global warmings and oil sands projects. So definitely interesting. So traders and onlookers were pretty much amused. I'd be amused if I saw a guy dressed as a polar bear. That's for sure. Uh, it made some headlines, and it showcased the whole intersection of environmental activism and financial markets. So that's one of the little funny stories I found for you guys today. Guy dresses polar bear, interrupts the TSX. What more can you say? Filmed at 11. Awesome. That would be very, very, very cool. Holy banana bread. Oh, apparently Marion is not a billionaire, Vic. I'm so sorry. She's just a girl who does nothing but work to afford to be here. I think everybody is in that boat. It's like make what you can so that you can just survive. Um, let's see. Vic says cottage country is crazy. People commune from Barrie to downtown to and keep in mind too, with these new capital gains rules, a lot of people in cottage country are trying to get their trying to sell things before before the actual change comes in, and I don't think they can do it. I feel bad for people who kind of all of a sudden get hit with all of this extra tax if they try to sell their cottage home. So not good, not good. So apparently there are celebrities in Muskoka. All right. Vic is house poor. Well, you live in your mom's basement, Vic. That's not a bad deal. But you're stock rich. So there we go. There we go. Yep. Nice place where you live. All right. Now let's get to that news story. Now we can get to it. All right. All right. Canada Post is back in the news again. The fun of Canada Post. So Canada Post, they recently announced that they're $748 million in the hole before doing their taxes in 2023. So since the beginning of the pandemic, their market share for parcels has dropped. And I'm talking about a lot. Like before the pandemic, they had about a 62% stake in overall in the market when it comes to parcels being delivered. They were down 29. They've gone down to 29%. So end of pandemic, 29% of the parcels being delivered by Canada Post. Before the pandemic, 62. So that's a lot of revenue that's lost. Now, just to put this into perspective, even with letters, so the average Canadian household right now, in 2023, they've received about 2 letters per week. That's down from, earlier in the 2000s, we were at about 6 letters a week. So they're not working that much. So, they're working, but they're just not, if anything, they're probably delivering ads more than anything else. So currently, without any changes to the Postal Service, it's pretty much unsustainable. And they're looking at larger losses in the future. So they've got to do something about it. Obviously, kind of as a as a sort of a stopgap measure, they've raised the price of stamps again. So if you're going to go in the store to buy a stamp, you're going to be paying $1.15 for a stamp instead of $1.07. Now, if you buy a book of stamps, you do get them cheaper. So it works out to, I think, 99 cents a stamp when you buy it in a book. So definitely worth it that way. Other than the fact that how often do you send letters anymore? I don't know. Only if I have to. Only if I have to. Basically, yeah, I think the only time I had to is when I got my initial summons from jury duty. I had to actually physically snail mail something back to them. But yeah, anyway, there's also with what's going on with Canada Post, one of the other talks about how they can save some money is why should we deliver 5 days a week? Maybe we should cut that back, and that's interesting. I mean, do you think they should deliver maybe once a week instead of 5 days? That would save a lot of money. Um, and most people seem to be pretty good with that idea. The exception being there are some boomers who are like, I still get most of my important stuff through the mail, like my checks and stuff like that. And the other big exception is some people in rural communities, that becomes a bit of their backbone. So, it's kind of a, what do you do? How do you do it? The other option too is Canada Post really needs to start looking at, finding other ways, finding other revenue streams for themselves, because right now it's not going so well for Canada Post. Ah, the fun. All right. Vic says home is an illiquid asset to rest your head. There we go. Vic, where are you going? Where are you going? I hope Air Canada or WestJet makes me buy 2 seats. You're 295. I don't think they'll make you buy 2 seats. I don't think they're that busy that they're going to sort of pick on you for that. Bismarck, he says, we should help out Canada Post. Send nasty letters to Trudeau. Yes, but that also gets you on a list you probably don't want to be on. So, it's funny. Now, here's a funny thing. I mentioned this. I think I mentioned this on the market close, but those of you who watched the Plain Bagel, he managed to snag himself a 20-minute interview with Trudeau. Now, the questions I thought were a little light-hitting. If I bagged a 20-minute interview with Justin Trudeau, I would not have gone so easy. I would have been a little more hard-hitting, a little more. But as I sort of said on the market close, I'm not sure if there were any stipulations. Like, it might have been a situation where he could only ask specific questions. So I don't know what the deal worked down to. But if I got no bars, no hands barred, no censorship, I could ask whatever I wanted. Oh boy, that would be a good video. That would be a really good video. Why video says, maybe Canada Post isn't a good money maker, but I think it's reliable, safe, and fast where I live. When I order online, I am much more confident when shipped with Canada Post. Yeah, absolutely. I think what happened is that as we moved more and more away from mail, Canada Post, I think they really should have started setting themselves up as, kind of in the Purelator role a lot more than they did. I think they should have really, really doubled down in that area so that they could have taken a much bigger share. But, unfortunately now they didn't. They didn't. We check our mail weekly anyway, just ads and bills. Yeah, exactly. Every so often there's something like, a lot of times I get all kinds of stuff from stocks. So National Bank is constantly sending me, well, here, I'll show you. I haven't even, whoops, let's grab one that I haven't opened. All right, boom. All right, here we go. National Bank. So I will open this on the air. Show you what they sent me. How many YouTubers?
Could you try again?
Yeah, no, I'm doing it fine, Siri. How many YouTubers open their mail on the air? All right, let's see what we got here. Here we go. Let me bring this in. Sir Royalty Income Fund. So it's basically a notice of annual general meeting to unit holders. That's just some information. I mean, sometimes there's some good information in it, but you can get all of this online anyway. So that's usually what I get. I get little things from stocks from a National Bank. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Vic says, I want to write an old-fashioned love letter. Well, you could always get ChatGPT to do it for you. I don't even know what an old-fashioned love letter would look like, to be honest. Is that like roses are red, violets are blue? Something like that. If I went any further, I know I was going to go places that I didn't want to go online. Vic says, I miss my high school sweetheart, but now she's married to someone else, but I snoop her Facebook. Is it snooping, Vic, or is it stalking? Just putting that out there. I know it's just snooping. Sometimes it's fun. I mean, everybody always has the road that you didn't take, and it's not. Yeah, you look at it. You look at it. Absolutely. Sometimes you can sit there and just sort of play with it in your head if you want. Let's see. I'm the fool that broke up with her. Oh, there you go. There you go. Yikes. Why Video says Canada Post owns Purelator. Okay, there we go. There we go. See, I didn't know that. I think they should make a better integration of both services. I think they should absolutely roll it into one. Um, you know, and it's funny because I don't like Purelator. When I'm shipping stuff, I would rather, honestly, I'd rather just use UPS. I always found Purelator had the higher rates when I was going through things, but which is hilarious because I could go to Purelator and ship something, or I could just go straight to Canada Post and ship it, and it was always still a better price at Canada Post. So Vic says, I get crazy mail for stocks I hold for various meetings, even though I have one share. Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah. Let's see, Candace, you get me. Really, you understand me more than my therapist. Oh, well, there we go. I'll have to get you a couch, Vic, and then we'll have a conversation. Or do therapists even use couches anymore? Or is that just a thing in the past? I'm not sure. But I am sure of this. We got another news story. So we got going out of business. Who's going out of business this time? Well, a lot of people actually. So in Q1, Canada has seen a huge spike in business insolvencies. So we're looking at a rise of 87.2% compared to Q1 in 2023. That's the largest spike in over 37 years. And if you're thinking, oh, that happened 37 years ago? No. It means that we've only been keeping records for 37 years. So this is the largest spike we've ever seen since we've started keeping records. So it boils down to 2003 insolvencies. And of that number, 1,599 also declared bankruptcy. So, and this is all going back to that SEBA loan deadline that passed. The businesses, they haven't been able to hand the added financial burden of monthly loan repayments and, the high interest that is on said payments. So that's not too shabby. Now, you might be thinking, you're like, oh, 1599 bankruptcies or 2003 insolvencies. That's just businesses. Consumer-wise, on the consumer front, we had 33,885 insolvencies. So, yeah, we're not doing so hot when it comes to staying afloat, both businesses and consumers. So definitely not a good situation at all. All right. Now, I got another one of them funny stories for you guys. Let's see here. We have, and this is kind of funny. So there was a really bizarre incident one time over at the good old TSX. So this trader accidentally executed a very large order by choosing he chose the wrong stock ticker. So he intended to buy shares of an energy company, but he ended up purchasing shares in an obscure ice harvesting company instead. That's hilarious. So the mistake caused, of course, you guys can kind of tell what happened. This little tiny company that all of a sudden this guy bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of shares, their price absolutely spiked. So it's temporary, but yeah. Anyway, it was kind of funny, and this trader sort of had to live up with the fact that people said, you're the only person we known who has traded ice. So kind of a cold story, but they call it the case of the traded iceberg. So definitely something that's a little bit funny. Oh, dear. All right. Let's see here. Oh, look at this. We got ourselves our second super. Why Videos has come in, and we got a third one. Look at this. Why Videos? You have powered You have powered us to that market close tomorrow. So tomorrow, folks, we will have a bonus market close, all thanks to Y Videos. So throw some appreciation to Y Videos in the chat because they pulled it off. They pulled it off. We're gonna have ourselves a market close tomorrow. I can't wait. I love market closes. So they are a lot of fun. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. What is our next news story? We're slowly getting through the news. We're slowly getting there. Strong crude prices. This is funny. I had to word this one just the right way. Otherwise, it could have sounded naughtier than it had intended to. So, ATB Capital Markets, they conducted a survey of all of the top oil executives. Probably not all of them, but a lot of them. And 91% of them, they're saying that we believe we are going to see higher crude prices for a much longer time frame. That's not too shabby for those of you who are investing in oil, that's for sure. So they say they anticipate the WTI, so West Texas Intermediate benchmark crude price to average basically above $76 American per barrel for the next 3 to 5 years. I actually think it's going to do better than that. Now, 88% expect their own company's prospects to improve over the next 6 months. 58%, I don't know why I love numbers, but 58% predict that their company will see increased activity levels over the next 6 months. 66% predict the energy sector will outperform other equity sectors in the next 12 months. So that could be very interesting. Definitely. And as you guys know, I'm always oil. I'm always bullish on oil. So definitely very, very interesting. So more than 60% of survey respondents said they anticipate the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, which is now, of course, as we mentioned, it is open. They're expecting it to adequately meet the sector's export capacity demands through to about 2028. So that's not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Holy banana bread. All right. And why saying your prices are too low? It's not, to me, it's not about the money. It's more about the interaction than anything else. So, and also, like when I say, like when I give you guys that offer to create a bonus market close, I kind of want you to do it because, like I said, because I enjoy doing the market closes. They are a lot of fun. So, we will have that one tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a busy day for me because I also have to film and edit the next video that comes out on Tuesday. And well, except for you guys who are channel members, you can watch it tomorrow as soon as I get it up. Probably just before the market close, actually. And that one is going to be a good one. It's going to be very, very interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So we still got lots of time. Yes, I love it. Everybody loves a low bar. It's like, yeah, it's not hard to hit that. It's sort of like, when you're practicing running and you want to do the, the hurdles, start with straws. It's just like, can I jump over that straw? Another straw. And you slowly make it over the straw each time. Then you raise it up to something. I don't know. I'm not a hurdle jumper. I never will be. I'm more or less the type that says, why not just run through the hurdles? It's probably faster, but that's just me. It's like I was inspired by the rhino off of Spider-Man as a kid or something. Just run through it. Break the hurdles. Don't jump. You can do it. All right. Our next news story. Oh, dear. Well, we got King Charles in the news. So, if you guys remember, when King Charles took over as the King of England, initially there was talk that they weren't going to put him on any of our currency. They're like, no, we're happy with the Queen. We'll leave the Queen there. But that's changing. So the Bank of Canada is planning to update our money, and they're replacing the picture of the Queen with King Charles III, his official title. So the first bill we're going to see is the $20 bill, and it's due to come out in 2027. So you'll have to see it. Um, Heck, only time I ever see a bill is if one's floating across my lawn, like that $10. But so I'll see one in pictures probably. Now, the Royal Canadian Mint is also they've also been tasked with redesigning the Canadian coins to also include the picture of our new king. There we go. Um, I'm kind of I'm kind of at that point where I think I'd rather see Canadians on our coin. Um, I mean, I love the history. I love our history. I love England. I love the monarchy, the constitutional monarchy. Um, but I just think it would be kind of cool, like just to have different people on the back of our coins as well. So I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm standing. What do you guys think? Should we still have the king on our coins? Or is it time for something different? I hit me in the comments. Let me know. I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think about that. All right. We have another weird story. This is one we've talked about before. You guys are all familiar with the good old maple syrup heist. That was, oh my God, that was back in 2012. So basically, there was a small group of guys that were stealing maple syrup from they're stealing it from the Strategic Maple Syrup Reserve in Quebec. So they managed to steal $18 million worth of maple syrup. And what they were doing is they were taking the maple syrup and they were replacing them with barrels that were filled with water. So nobody would notice, like, the same number of barrels were there, and until they eventually found them. So what's really interesting, though, is the whole purpose of this reserve is to, well, it gives us the opportunity to have more maple syrup and to stabilize the price of maple syrup in years when the trees aren't producing as much maple syrup or maple sap as normal. Like last year was a bad year. We used up a lot of our maple syrup reserve. So we're hoping this year is going to be really like a bumper year to help make up that reserve. And we actually had a story, I think, was it maybe a month or two ago, about the maple syrup reserve. So it's definitely really, really interesting. Yeah. So when we did have this heist, when they discovered the maple syrup had been stolen, it did actually have an impact on the syrup market. It led to shortages and price hikes until, of course, they did recover it, though. So that certainly helped in the long run. But yeah, one of them funny little stories that we run into. Maple syrup, what can you do? It's fun. All right. Whew. And let's get to our next news story here. Oh, this is our last news story before we get to the crypto corner. Before we talk about preventative fire insurance, I'm going to have another sip from the good old Starbucks cup. Oh, that's so good. It is very, 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 very good. Okay. There we go. Let's pull this up. All right. So Intact, they're an insurance company. They offer fire insurance. That's one of their big selling points, or one of their big products. Now, last year they paid out over $1 billion in Canada alone just for fire claims. So that's kind of huge. Oh, excuse me. So with wildfires, so they're not supposed to be getting any better. They're actually supposed to be getting worse because of climate change. So with these wildfires expected to be very serious, especially in Western Canada, they have they've come up with a plan to try to save on fire claims. So they've partnered with a group called Wildfire Defense Systems, and they will now, when the conditions are ripe, so when the conditions are ripe for a fire, they're going to send a team out to your house if you're insured with them. And what that team is going to do is they're going to remove flammable objects from around your house. So things like propane tanks or furniture. They're going to set up sprinkler systems. And they're even going to spray chemicals that prevent or slow the spread of fire around your property. So that's kind of their thing to say this way here, let the fire pass through. Our houses will be fine and we won't have to pay out any money. It's a win-win actually for both sides because obviously you don't want your house to burn down, but it's kind of this new reality that we've got little strike forces from the insurance company coming to your house ahead of time to try to help save you. So that's not too shabby. I found that very, very, very interesting. Nonetheless. So definitely cool. No, excuse me. Y Video says now maple syrup is mainly sold by Roger Sugar, which is the biggest maple syrup company in the world via the Maple Treat Corporation division. Yes, Roger Sugar does have a very big maple syrup division. And yeah, I mean, and Canadian maple syrup, I mean, there's a huge demand for it all around the world. It's like even you take the US, they have maple syrup too up in like Vermont and New England. But it's just, Quebec pretty much produces about 80% of the world's supply. So yeah, it's huge. It's definitely huge. Um, I do like Roger Sugar, and I know they have plans for another sugar producing plant. We mentioned that I think in the news, well, probably 3 months ago. So I do think long term, Roger Sugar is going to be a good company to invest in. So I do like them. And according to Mary, they had a great day on Friday. Awesome, awesome. Well, once we finish the news, I can pull up the other screen and we can look at stuff if you guys want. Let's see. Roger Sugar have a division in Vermont too. So there we go. So yeah, they're covering their bases. You got your Quebec maple syrup, you got your Vermont or Vermont or New Hampshire and all of those places as well. So not too shabby. All right, our final news story. Well, it's not even a news story. It's now time for crypto corner, and I changed the graphic. Isn't that kind of cool? It's funny. I got to tell you guys a story. I have to tell you a story before we talk about crypto. When I was trying to make this new image, I liked the old image, but I wanted a megaphone in it. So it made me an image, and I was looking at it, and then I was looking at the words around the edge, and it spelled out a naughty word. It spelled out the word that starts with a B, and it might be a name for like a female dog, but it was there in plain daylight at the top. And I was like, "What are you saying?" I think ChatGPT is just a little annoyed with me for asking it to do too much. But wow, it was just like I couldn't believe it. So I was like, I obviously couldn't use that one. So I had to play around with ChatGPT a bit to get the image I wanted. And this one is perfect because I have it so it's pointing at Crypto Corner. So anyway, uh, definitely fun. Now in Crypto Corner, we got a couple. Well, we had three things, but I already told you about that Bitcoin address that I thought was kind of interesting. Another interesting thing that has come out is that they were looking at stable coin transactions. And it's been found that only 10% are actually by real users. And this is according to Bloomberg. This revelation, I mean, this is huge. I mean, it does have some pretty big implications for the crypto market when it comes to stable coins. And it's like, a lot of times there's a lot of talk out there that stable coins are used a lot. Like it's very widespread. There's widespread adoption, but is there? If only 10% of those are real people, how widespread is stable coin adoption? Personally, I'm not a big. I mean, I understand stable coins, but I've never really used them, and I never probably will. I'll stick to the coins that I know are okay. Like, there's been some issues with stable coins in the past. I don't need to tell you about those, but yeah, just one of those things. Now, here's the bigger story of the week on the crypto side. So, as you guys know, they proved the spot Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong. Fantastic. But those ETFs were for Hong Kong only. They weren't for mainland China. So now there is this potential for Hong Kong-based Bitcoin and Ether exchange-traded funds, so these ones that were just created, to be made available to investors in mainland China. Huh? How is that, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Well, oh gosh, that was really corny. So there's a group called Harvest Global Investments. They are one of the issuers of the Hong Kong First Spot cryptocurrency ETFs. They're considering that possibility of basically including those ETFs in something called a Stock Connect scheme. I don't think it's a scheme as in a, like a scheme. I think it's more just a scheme as in a plan. So this would allow mainland China investors to directly invest in these ETFs. So according to their CEO, and that's a guy by the name of Han Tongli, he has expressed interest in this expansion pending, of course, that he can get some regulatory approvals. And to get those regulatory approvals, he also needs to see some of the smooth performance of the ETFs within Hong Kong. So that could be huge. So for those people, for those of you who are fans of Bitcoin or Ethereum in this case, this could really, really, really be a big thing. If mainland China gets access to these ETFs, that's going to be huge. Absolutely huge. Holy banana bread. All right. And now next week coming up, we've got in Canada, we got nothing. We really don't have anything next week. The following week, May 21st, we have the CPI. But for next week, there's not a lot on the calendar up here in Canada. But in the US, and these are some numbers we're waiting for to see what's going on. On Tuesday, we got the PPI. And on Wednesday, we got the CPI. So between these two, we should see if inflation is still kind of going in the wrong direction. And I'll tell you, if inflation is still creeping up in the US, it won't look good for rate cuts for a bit. And, you might start to hear whispers of a rate hike. You might. But I'm hoping not. I'd like to see at least flat or maybe a little bit of an improvement. That's what I'd like to see. But we'll have to sort of see. Earnings, of course, is continuing. So we've got coming up this week, we got Hydro One, we got Emera, Pado Exploration, Canada Goose, Northwest Health, and one of my new favorites, Bird Construction, is coming up with their earnings this week. So can't wait. And of course, the following week, I believe, is the bank week. So that's going to be a very, very exciting. All right. There we go. We have completed the news. So now, give me a second here. Let's get out of news mode. There we go. We're out of news mode, and I have to, bang. Voila, it's gone. We're out of news mode. We're back. Story time. Yeah, absolutely. Y says I should add Bird on my watch list. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good company. I did, like I said, it was one of those ones when I did the list video with them on it a couple weeks ago or so. I was like, why am I not holding this? This is a company I've been bullish on for a long time. So I did add it into the challenge. So I'm definitely happy about that. So very well, also considering there's a lot of construction set to happen over the next couple of years, a lot. And even with the labor shortages, when it comes to construction and comes to tradespeople, they're going to, they're going to have customers lining up. They will have more customers than they can actually handle. So that to me, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. I think this is going to be, a company to really, really, really look at. All right. Now, I want to show you guys something. Let me, first of all, I'm going to get myself out of there. All right. Because otherwise you'd see the infinite me's, and one of me's enough. You don't need to see a whole bunch of me. All right. Let's see here. Oh, of course it does that. I don't like that one. I prefer this one, and I know I block a little piece of the corner, but I try to be conscientious of that. Over on Discord, this is where we are right now. Let's go over to Mountain Finance. And here we go. Oh, do you guys like the new I was looking at the old one so this week on the Starburst, and I was like, that Starburst just doesn't look classy enough to me. So I came up with this new thing and I tied it into the whole Aurora Borealis. Did any of you guys actually see the Aurora? Last night I couldn't because it was full on cloudy, but I did go out on Friday night and I saw nothing. I was so disappointed. I have always wanted, it's on my bucket list, seeing an Aurora, and I've yet to see one. Anytime there's one in the city I'm in, it's either cloudy, or I hear about it after it's already happened. So yeah, this one was just not good at all. But I have updated the schedule, and here we go. So, and I'll do this live. I always like to do this one live. This one here is currently happening, so we can actually get rid of it. Bang. Get rid of that. Bang, 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 bang. There we go. All right. So we got basically up until June 9th, I've got plotted out. We'll get more plotted out soon enough. So we're stocks. We're doing that. That's a Tuesday video. And that's where I mentioned, I mentioned TELUS, and I think I mentioned somebody else too. Who was it? Oh, the Brookfield, one of the Brookfield companies. They do show up in that. So what I've done for this is I've actually come down to the top 10 worst performers over the last year. So we're talking a 1 year period from like the time of recording to exactly 1 year before that. So I decided to go with that route. But I also, within these 10, I've spliced in 5 bonus companies that are out of business, that have gone out of business within, and I went for quite a large period of time. So because some of the ones that you guys really sounded like some of you guys wanted to see, may have gone out of business in the early 2000s. So I put in a good little, I call it sort of my, it's sort of like, how the award show have that in memorandum or memorum, or however you say that word, that memorial section, we'll call it. I kind of did my own. So 5 companies that are no longer with us. So we're going to look at those sort of in between these other videos. It could be a long video. Normally, after I scripted a video, they're about 9 pages long. But this one is, just give me a second here. I got to pull it up. Boo, 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 boo. Yeah, here we are. This is the last page of the script, so you can't actually get any sneak peek from it. 14 pages. So 14 pages long on the script, but there's the script. Now, if you are able to slow that down, you might have been able to see something. So we'll remove it for now, but that is what is coming up on Tuesday. Now, this is a fantastic week because not only do we have a bonus market close. Let's put that in there right now, right there. So there's the 15th. All right. Oops, I guess I have to be editing to do this. All right. So Y video basically gave you guys an extra one. So let's put that in there right there. And that's going to be on the 13th. And it is a bonus market close. And, oh, watch this. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Y Videos. We'll put that there as well, because if somebody single-handedly earns it, I try to throw the little shout out there. And I better make sure it's Y Videos and not, yes, it is. Okay. Whew. For a second, I wrote that down. I was like, wait a minute. Is it video or videos? So there we go. Boom. Perfect. So what's special about this week is we get that bonus. Then we've got our regular market close. And then on Thursday, we got our channel members live stream. So if you're a channel member, you can come to this live stream. We're going to vote on what the topic is. I'm probably going to get the vote out by tomorrow. I've been collecting ideas. So that's going to be kind of cool. And we also, I got to put out a vote for the deep dive too. Holy banana bread. I got a lot I got to get going by tomorrow. So that's coming out as well. It's going to be a great week. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. So it's going to be a great week on the channel. yeah, it's going to be fun to be here. Absolutely. All right. Oops, that's we can remove that for now. All right. Y Video says in this category, I have Acon. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Vic says I bought STN at 118, just one share, and Art and Stantic. A workaholic. I have one day off a week. Saturday is my do nothing day. So just put this in perspective. If you comment on a video on Saturday, it might take me 20% longer than normal to respond. If I see it, I'll still respond. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things. And wow, thanks for the shout out. No problem. Absolutely. Kev B says QQCC in the deep dive, please. Okay. Well, QQCC is, I believe that's an ETF. Correct me if I'm wrong, but hey, let's find out. I'm pretty sure QQCC is a, didn't mean to do that. I'll just double check here. QQCC. Yeah, exactly. I knew it was, but I'm like, let's go through the motions anyway. And there we go. And there's their chart. We'll bring up that 1 year. So they're not doing too bad. But over here on Discord, we got a couple of things. I'll show these to you as well. We have, of course, we have our deep dive requests. So this is where you can go. You throw up your deep dive requests. I take them from here and I move them into the pool. So over here, this is the pool. So these are the ETFs currently that are on the list. And as you can see, Mr. Kevin, QQCC is on the list. So it is in the pool. So it will get voted on. May not be the next ETF one, but it is in that list. So we'll go through and we'll take a look. I actually would love to do QQCC. So hopefully we can get that in sooner than later. And hopefully everybody votes for it. Because that's kind of the whole thing with a democracy, right? Is, it's kind of great. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a cop-out on my side, too. If you think about it, somebody's like, hey, can you do this one? I'm like, I can put it up for the vote. People don't vote for it. I can't do it. But I'm kind of looking at a way as well. I want to find a way to just to give a bit more power to channel members. But I haven't figured that out yet. So that's stuff I'm looking at. Now, while we're here, let's go back here to the YouTube schedule. I did add this new little thing so you guys can see what the next milestone is. So our next milestone is 4,000 subs. And at that point, we're going to do an open to close live stream. So that's going to be really, really good. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging. I'm going to go through a lot of coffee like this. So yeah, just a second here. Awesome. Yes, you're right. I did do ENGH because we were talking about it, I think, before, and I was sure I did it. I just didn't see it. But somebody had seen it. So yeah. So what happens here is normally if I've already done a deep dive and people request it again, I'll put it back in, but I'm probably not going to put it up for a vote for a bit because, for one, nothing would change in the deep dive if you're even within, unless, if you're within the same quarter, of course not, because new data hasn't shown up. So I normally like to keep about a year between one deep dive and doing it again, because there's enough companies that and ETFs that I can keep myself completely busy without repeating somebody every year. But there are some companies, like for example, I end up doing Canoe every year. Probably, I have a feeling I'll be doing like Enbridge every year and probably BAM and a few others like that, because those are what people want. So, I got to give you what you want. Let's see. The day you do your open to close should be a national holiday. I agree. We'll call it, I think it's probably going to be in the summer, because I'll tell you right now, we are sitting at, I don't know what we're sitting at, but I'll find out here in a second for you. Here we go. I I'll actually show you guys. I'll drag it over so you can see. We're sitting at 36.17. So that's where we're at right now. So 3,617. So we need, what, 383, and then we're ready to do it. This is, by the way, this is the back end of YouTube. So that's what it looks like. So you can go in. There was the last video, was that market close on May 10th. And that just tells me I had 81 people watch it while it was live. So that's not really that accurate. So if I come here to analytics and come over to here, this shows where everybody is. So right here, oh, look at this. That's this one right now. So we've had 139 people come through so far on this live stream. But the other live stream right here, now it says 155, but that's only the last 48 hours. So some of that have dropped off. I believe it's at, well, let's find out. Let's go to a different place here. We'll go to content and we'll go to live. Here we go. Here's the one that's currently on. So that one's up around 259. So that's not too shabby. Of course, I'd love to see these numbers get higher, and they will. They have. I mean, they're bigger than they were a year ago, and those are bigger than they were a year ago. So we just keep on ticking along. Anyway, that's that's part of the back end of good old YouTube. And I'll show you guys this only because I love showing people this. I don't know why, but if we go back to analytics and see more, and let's see here, where is it? This one here. So this one here is the one video that went viral on the channel. So let's pull it up. So currently it is sitting at 20,932 views. So absolutely crazy. It's picked up 236 subs. It's made like $94. So it's just really, really crazy. But this is the whole thing. I mean, here's the funny thing with this video, right? So after about my first, even my first 16 days, this thing, it had more than 5. It only had 5 views on that one day. But, it really didn't have a lot of traction. So, it wasn't until, oh, sorry, that's subscribers. Let's get to views. I was like, okay, that's why. All right. There we go. So after the first month, it had only had 996 views. But you can sort of see now it's heading up. It just keeps going up. And there's a little bump there. I remember that. That was just like weird. So this video is just consistent. It keeps on getting people over and over again. So what can I do anyway? I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to pull this back here because, I can get lost in there forever. Yeah, Canoe. I mean, I love Canoe. Like I said, the only real downside with Canoe is that you do have that return of capital. So you want to make sure you have it in a registered account. Canoe is is a stock. No matter how much I love it, I do not want to hold it outside of a registered account because I don't want inflated profits on it. And Y Video says, will YouTube keep the 6.5 hour video for the replays? I think so. I hope so. I don't know what the limit. No, I think the limit's like 8 hours or something like that. I'll double check. Because if it doesn't, what I might have to do is I'll have the whole video on StreamYard. If it were a situation that it did that, I would have to like maybe break it in half and put up 2 uploads for people after the fact to watch it. But we'll make sure it'll be available one way or another. So not to worry. But I do think 6.5 is fine. I think 6.5 is fine. I believe it's around 8 hours that you start to run into an issue. And it'll never happen. I'm never going to do a 24-hour stream, but I've known people who've done 24-hour streams. Those ones certainly wouldn't be up for the replay. So, but I believe it's around 8 hours. So I think we're good. Luckily, which is good. All right. Let's go back up here to the big head once again. So we are coming up on that 2-hour mark, guys. If you got more questions, throw them in, hit me up. We'll take care of them. We'll do them. And as I mentioned before, We do have that video tomorrow, or tomorrow. I always say tomorrow because the channel members can see it tomorrow. We do, of course, have the worst stocks coming up on Tuesday, and I will get the deep dive up soon so that we can get the voting on that. And we got so much stuff. We're going to be back here again tomorrow with a market close, so that's going to be fun. So 2 market closes this week. Always love that. I have been toying with an idea. So why videos keeps telling me I keep my bar so low. So we're probably going to go with a high bar on this idea, but I'm trying to mull it over. I'm thinking one of these weeks, I have to look at which week it will be. I will give you guys an opportunity to, to have a full house for that week with market closes. So it would be a full week of market closes, Monday to Friday. So technically, basically, it means you get 4 bonus ones. So I have to figure out what the task will be. That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one for sure. And I hope when we do it that you guys are up to the task, because like I said, I do love doing the market closes. They're a lot of fun. So, it won't be this week, obviously, but it is coming up. It is coming up. I just have to figure out how I'm going to do it. It'll definitely be here before we do the open to close. So probably I would say it's probably going to be in June because I'm going to hype it a little bit. So we'll get that all figured out. That will be kind of cool. Well, not just kind of cool. The opening thing I do on this, I'm also going to make one for the market closes as well. I just haven't done it yet, so I'm gonna probably, if I have time, I'll do it for tomorrow, but I'll definitely have it by Wednesday. That way there, like I said, whatever time I start. So on the market closes, I start at 45 to, so 45 to 40. So at 3:45, because it closes at 4. So then basically with that, I drop it at 3:44. So that 1 minute of the countdown, you're not missing anything. It's just basically it's a way to get rid of the ads for anybody who is watching the ads, because I appreciate it. When you do watch the ads, I get paid, which is fantastic. So yeah, I would rather that there's a countdown there. So that way there you watch the ads if you're not a premium member. I also get paid if you're a premium. Actually, believe it or not, I make more off of people watching the ads than I do off of the premium. But you know what? If you hate ads, no problem. And if you absolutely hate ads, it's like, don't worry about it. I mean, the pennies I'm going to make from you, it's not a big deal. So, enough people watch the ads that we do have some AdSense that is spilling in, which is fantastic. It's maybe the final sip of coffee today. Now, I guess there's one thing I want to leave you guys with. And so a little bit about ticker symbols. Have you ever noticed that some companies occasionally get some really, really, really cool ones? So I found a few cool ones that I thought were funny. So let's see here. There is a ticker symbol, GRR, GRR, and that is for Asian Tigers Fund. So that's kind of cool. There's also a ticker out there, COW, COW. That is for, basically it's for a livestock company. So cow, which is really funny. There's also a ticker, BOOM, BOOM. That's for Dynamic Materials Corporation. And there is a fair out there. They have a ticker, FUN, FUN. So just a couple little fun ones there. I don't know. I think a lot of these companies are probably on the US markets, but I just thought that was kind of funny to see some of those things. Kind of like Shopify has Shop. I always like it when you look at the ticker, and the ticker kind of gives you a general idea of what the company is. And, if it's a funny one, there's nothing wrong with that either. Let's see. Y said I had to refresh to see the live video as I was standing by. Oh, yeah. If it goes past that 1 second, if it hits like a 4 o'clock and it's not showing, just refresh. Yeah, definitely refresh. Whoops. Candace, bless you. 2-hour live stream. We're not there yet. 5 minutes. I will, you know what, for you, Vic, I will hold out that 5 minutes. If no questions come, I'll just ramble for 5 minutes if I have to, or 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Pot for a potash corporation, a potash. Well, I'd rather say potash. It sounds more regal, right? Yeah, and bank, top banks. Yeah, that's a great ETF. Um, yeah, I think Nutrien is due for a run. What would be a good ticker for, if only Nutrien could have had EAT? That would have been a good one for them. But yeah, no, I do think Nutrien is definitely in for a run. Nutrien is a company I am very bullish on. I do feel like uh, they got a lot of juice in them, and I think they're going to. I think long term they're going to do really really well. It's interesting though. Don't know when somebody was mentioning it to me before, but every so often China buys all of their stuff from Nutrien all at the same time, and I think that's coming up soon. If anybody knows, throw it into chat because I think that is coming up soon, and that should be a big jump for Nutrien. I think Chad is normally the one who knows about this stuff. Where I miss Chad; he's not here today. We have not mentioned Saskatchewan even once. Oh dear. Well, now we have. We've now mentioned Saskatchewan twice. So there you go, Chad. Even when you're not here, we're still talking about Saskatchewan. Did that summon him? Because I said Saskatchewan 4 times. We'll just leave it at that. Um, yeah. So hopefully this is going to be a good week. Like I said, I think the big thing is what's going to happen. Now, there is a possibility tomorrow on the market because we've got the PPI on Tuesday and the CPI on Wednesday. We could start to see a little bit of fear in the market because a lot of investors are going to be worried about whether inflation has come down or not. So we'll have to see if that actually impacts the beginning of the week. So we might see a little bit of red. We may, especially in the US, it may not move over to Canada because I have noticed that the Canadian market is pretty much, we've been green on days that the S&P has been red and vice versa. So I think we'll be fine here, but I think we'll definitely see a little tiny bit of red tomorrow and maybe even we'll see Tuesday if the PPI, which is this is the price that the wholesalers are paying. If that's gone up, that will be bad. That would definitely be bad, and we could get a red market. And of course, if the CPI on Wednesday comes up, it'll be a good buying day. So if you have money to spend this week, you might want to hold off until Wednesday. I know I'm going to for the challenge. I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, but if it happens, I'm going to be ready to make a few purchases on that day. So just something to think about for this week. But if it all turns out well, and we actually do have some signs of inflation leveling out and coming back down a little bit on the CPI, the rest of the week should be green. That would be really, really fantastic. So we'll have to see. We will have to see. Let's see. Why Video says, it would be interesting in a future video to have your take on having bonds in a portfolio. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I did do a bond video quite a while ago, but I will definitely hit on that because I do want to talk a little bit in a video about not just bonds, but fixed income in general. So it comes into, I have to look at it this way. It's kind of sad. Here's the sad part is that when I do videos like that, where I do like pure almost tutorial, they tend to do a lot worse. I still do them. I just kind of space them apart so it doesn't hurt the algorithm too much. It's kind of one of the banes of being a YouTuber is that you're kind of slave to the algorithm. So I know I know some things, some videos I know as I'm even scripting them, I know that they're not going to do well, but I know that they will consistently get views, a trickle of views forever because they're kind of like evergreen and they're good stuff. Sort of like when I did a video I thought was an awesome video a while ago on the VIX. People still come in and look at it every so often, but it just absolutely tanked. And it happens. It does happen. So, but I got to admit, this has been, the last little while, a lot of our videos have been breaking 1,000 views. And for me, I'm happy. It's actually funny. I'll show you guys. Why not? Let's pull this up. So I keep us running little data point down here, this average here. So if you take the average of every video I've done, and this is going all the way back to day one, the average is 888.72. Now, mind you, when we go all the way back, like look at this, we got like 200, 100, 100, 100, 100. So, you know, there's a lot of things, a lot of things being pulled down by that average. But for me, that's what I do. I look at that and it's like if a video does more than the average, so as long as a video does more, right now, if it gets 889 or above, I'm happy. It's a win. So it's pretty good. Like this TD Bank one sitting at 862. Well, is it at 862 though? I haven't looked. Let me just take a gander here. We'll come back here. It's now at 953. There we go. I'll update that one. So yeah, this one, winner, 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 winner. Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. Winner, 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 winner. Boo, 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 boo. Winner, winner. Boo, 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 boo. Winner, winner. Boo, 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 boo. Winner. Boo, 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 boo. Winner. And then a whole bunch of dog breakfast in that area. I don't know what was going on. But yeah, there's been a lot of winners lately, which is fantastic. So I definitely appreciate that. You guys are always awesome. All right, and oops, let's bring this back as we start to close things out here a little bit. No, it's part of the game. It's part of the game, but I will still do it. And I'll tell you, like I said, that one video, that OAS video, normally my retirement stuff doesn't do that well, and that's why it exploded. So I'm just like, whoa. So yeah, definitely was interesting. So Amvas says, for your retirement videos, would you consider covering your opinion, what age to take CPP in particular as an individual? Thanks. Actually, I already did that video. That video is already there. Gosh, let me see if I can find it for you. CPP. Here we go. All right. I'll drop the link here for you. There you go. Yeah. So actually in that video, I broke down, you know, beneficial age and what factors you might want to take when it comes to selecting your CPP by what. Ooh, does that one work? I have to, I don't know if that works or not. Give me a second. I am going to. All right. You know what? I'm just going to go right to the page here. Let me give you a better link because I think that link was an edit link. Here we go. I should have just went straight to the page first. Yeah, use the second link. This one down here, the 602 one. That one there will take you to it. So yeah. And why video says maybe covering a little bit more US stocks would be valuable. Yeah, absolutely. I love covering some US stocks. I will tell you though, like like the tutorial videos, whenever I do a US video, I'm pretty much guaranteed to have about half the normal viewership. So, and that makes sense because even you would take even the US people who come to this channel, they're not here for US stocks. You know, they're here for the Canadian stocks. So it's kind of one of those things. But what I do like is when I sometimes I'll sort of do both at the same time, and that kind of is a one way I can do some US stocks and still have the Canadian stuff and still keep everybody around. So just one of those things. All right, everybody, we are at the end. So any of you who have not yet wished your mom a happy Mother's Day, be sure to do that. If you are a mom, happy Mother's Day as well. It's been fantastic. You guys have been awesome. As always, we will be back here. Well, tomorrow we got a market close thanks to Y videos. So we will be bright and, well, it won't be bright and early. It'll be at the exact same time. 3:45, we start the market close and we have, oh yes, we have the bell. This can't ring it now, but I'm going to ring it during the market close. I'm going to be careful how I place this down because it would be funny if it accidentally rang as I was doing it. All right. Anyway, everybody, thank you guys all for being here. You guys all rock. Those of you who are watching this on the replay, thank you too. You guys are so special, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye.